If you have separated from your ex and you've got kids together, then I'm going to share with you how you can co-parent peacefully with your ex. Now, this is important for two reasons. Number one is your kids. Our kids don't deserve the pain of going through an experience where their parents don't get along. The amount of wounds and traumas that creates for the child is just not fair, and then they grow up with that. And then number two is for your own sanity. You're going to be if you've got kids, you're going to be in your ex's life for the rest of your life. And, at birthdays, at sporting events, at weddings, everything like that. So if you guys don't get along, man, it's just like a constant negativity in your mind and negative energy that you've got to deal with. And holding on to that long term is not a good thing. So the story with me is my ex and I, we split up about 15 months ago. We co-parent really, really well. And I just want to share a bit of our story and what we've done to get to a position where I've got a really good relationship with my ex. I love her. I respect her. I think she's an amazing mum. I talk about how amazing she is. And not only is it the best situation possible out of our breakup to do with our son, because obviously the best thing for a kid is to have two parents that are together who are in a healthy, loving relationship. That's the number one thing. I think the second best, I think there's a lot of parents that are together that don't have a healthy relationship, that are still stayed together. I think possibly whether it's that or having parents who have split up but have a healthy relationship together, I think that's close to number two on the best you can get. So look, our relationship died, but we're just doing the best that we can for our son and obviously for our own state of mind. So my wife and I together, so the story was my wife and I were together about 12 years. We had a really amazing relationship. And then probably about at the 9-year mark or so, we had just a bunch of things go. We were in a winter season of life. A lot of things went wrong and breakdowns and challenges. And it was a really tough time. Then we had our son. And as you know, as a parent, how difficult and challenging that can be. And then our relationship just broke down over a couple of years. And then we were, our relationship was, after a bunch of years, it was nothing left. And we were, I guess, talking about, are we going to be together type thing. But then one day my wife said that she's done. She can't keep doing this. And initially I got angry and I went and kind of ran away and disappeared for a day, yeah? And I was thinking I was angry at her for giving up, because I'm in my mind, I'm this is just a period of life. This is just a season we're going through. We'll get through it. We've just got to push through it. Sunnier days will come, yeah? And I was kind of angry at her for giving up. But then I listened to this podcast. It was Lewis Howes' School of Greatness, and he had a guest on called David Guillaume, who David's now one of my biggest mentors. He was talking about his ex, because he had separated from his wife. They had kids together, and he was talking about his ex. And he was just talking about how she's the most amazing woman. Yeah, that he respects her and she's the most amazing mum, and he's so grateful for the time that they had together. And I had never heard anyone speak about their ex that way. All the exposure I have had was the typical, I hate my ex, they're an arsehole, they did this, they're a bitch, whatever it is. So that was the first time I'd really heard someone talk about their ex in that way. And I'm well, I can choose two paths here. I can go down the typical path, which is hating on my ex and then blaming her and resenting her and all that type of thing. Or I could go down the path of doing what David did and loving my ex. And I thought about it, I'm what's better for our son? I'm loving my ex is. What's better for me? Loving my ex. So I basically, once I listened to that podcast, this new perception of what was possible opened up for me, and I made it my mission to make this the best divorce in the history of divorces. So I went back home that day after kind of running away for a bit, and I just said to my wife, or my ex now, I just said, look, I understand, fair enough, I think you're right. Look, it's time to move on. This is not working. Let's just make this the best divorce in the history of divorces. And literally that was like my mission. So what did I actually do in regards to the next step of, okay, making it my mission to make it the best divorce in the history of divorces? Look, it's painful, going through that. And for me, having my wife leave me, super painful. But what I focused on, because life is so much about what you focus on. There's upsides and downsides in absolutely everything that you do. And when you're in a tough situation, what we generally do is we focused on all the negative side, the downsides, the pain, everything like that. And that's what causes suffering. So what I did is I just looked at, okay, what's the upside in all of this? And, I believe in God, and I believe that, God wants to give me everything that I desire. And if something is falling apart, like my marriage, for example, I desire love. I desire to be in a loving relationship. If this is falling apart, it must mean that there's a greater love out there for me. Now, I couldn't even comprehend that kind of love because my ex was the love of my life and I'd always had her in my vision. But I just said, if this is God's plan, then I accept it. And if there's a greater love out there for me because I desire love, then I have to be grateful for my ex. I have to be grateful that she's giving up. I have to be grateful that she wants to leave. So I went from kind of being blaming her and resenting her to being super grateful about the opportunity, number one, that we had amazing times together, amazing memories that we created. We experienced a lot of growth. We had a really great time together. We created our son, who we love. So I'm like, well, how can I be angry at that for? I'm just I'm happy. So I went from being kind of blaming, resentful, to grateful for her. And that was my focus. I just focused on that. And also then I'm like, okay, I started focusing on, sweet, well, I'm not going to let this situation defeat me. And again, coming back to my belief around God is that God wants to give me everything that I desire. And if something is being taken away from me or something's becoming hard, it means it's just calling me to grow within myself so I can attract something greater. So I started getting weirdly excited just at the thought of that there's another woman out there for me, which is an even greater love. And I knew how much I loved my ex. And I'm like, wow, what a feeling that must be. I'm excited for it. And then from there, I just worked on becoming the greatest version of myself, physically, mentally, spiritually. Because when you're going through a separation, it is really, really tricky. If you've got financials together, if you've got kids together, it's super, super tricky. There's really tender moments as well. And I really believe that if you're watching this, is that you've got to take responsibility in being the one that drives the relationship and healing the relationship. I don't know what your ex is like. Lucky for me, my ex is, she's an amazing woman who is open to being peaceful, but I know that's not the case for a lot of partners. So if you're watching this, you need to be the driver that is making it your mission to heal the relationship with your ex and make it peaceful. And for some people, it's going to take way more time than others. And it also depends on how your relationship ended. Yeah. So, if you had done something really bad and your ex is super, super hurt, then you're going to have to really show up consistently over time. Unless that person who you really, 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 really hurt is really open-minded and awake, I guess say, they're probably not going to just go, yeah, okay, thanks for the apology. You know what? I think this is a good idea. They're hurting, so they're probably going to want to hold on to that for a while. So it's not an easy thing, but you just taking responsibility, number one, becoming the best version of yourself, because the reason why you need to do this is because when the tricky moments come up, where you have a bit of friction with your ex, which is going to happen because I've had friction with my ex. But if you're being your worst version, there's no chance you're going to be able to get through that. It'll end in a fight and an argument. But if you're being your best self, and when the friction moments come up, you'll be able to kind of stand in your heart. And this is the most important thing, is that you stay in your heart throughout this whole process and have compassion for them and understand that, your ex is going through a really tough time, or, they're really struggling. Of course, they're going to be angry. Of course, they're going to be frustrated. They're not on the same path as you. So you can't expect them to be thinking exactly like you are. So it's not an easy thing, but if you are being your best version and you're staying in your heart, you can kind of weather those little storms there. And the less situations you get into where you're fighting and arguing, the quicker things will heal. So I just kept focusing on keeping the peace with her. There were moments where I, bit my tongue. I did my best to try to see her point of view, because we're two opposite people. Yeah, we've got two opposite parenting styles, which causes tension at times, and in the breakdown of our relationship, definitely caused tension. But I did my best to I do my best to just kind of see things from her point of view. And sometimes, you've got to meet. The ideal thing is that if you've got two different parenting styles, you've got to learn to meet in the middle. Yeah, and sometimes if you really want to hold on to something, just let it go if it's not a big deal. But if you do that consistently, then I mentioned before this, depending on how hurt your ex is and what their awareness levels are like. And when I say awareness levels, what does that mean? If there's someone that chooses anger and hate, then they're going to take longer to come around. If there's someone who realizes that, for example, okay, look, we had a relationship, it died, it was really hurtful, it was painful, but hey, I don't want to hold on to that. If they're kind of someone like that, the healing's going to be a lot easier for you. But what I would do from here is, the first thing is, if you haven't done this, take the first step now to heal this relationship. So if that means you got to call them and apologize for whatever you did, take responsibility for your part in the breakdown of relationship. You will know what you need to say to them, right? But it's almost like you're reassuring them that, look, I'm really sorry for what happened. I'm sorry for my part here, and I'm making changes about myself because I want our relationship to be at a healthy level. For two reasons: for our kids, yeah, you're doing it for them. And then number two, for our own sanity. So just kind of talk to that. And you just want to stay in your heart. And as long as you just keep being like that, you stay consistently, even if you've hurt them and you've done some bad stuff, yeah, as long as you make change about yourself, they're going to sooner or later come around. If you keep staying in your heart, you keep showing up consistently, you don't go back to your old ways and your old self where you blow up and you're being super angry, whatever it is. Just stay in your heart, have compassion for them, yeah? They are hurt. And when people are hurt, what they want to do is they want to hurt other people back. And if they're that's what they are, then just realize that they're going to try and hurt you. They're going to say things to try and trigger you, and just know that they're only doing that because their heart's breaking or broken. So it's almost like having a yelling match with someone. If say someone yells at you and you yell back at them, then they're going to yell back louder, and you're going to yell back louder, you're going to yell back louder. But if say someone yells at you and you just sit there and go, okay, and they yell at you and you say, okay, and yell at you and say, I can see what you're saying. Yeah, okay, thank you. Sooner or later, they're going to run out of steam. So that's what you want to do here, is that in those moments, those tension moments, stay in your heart and don't escalate things, and make it your mission to heal the relationship with your ex. Your kids will benefit from it, yeah, like major impacts on their life. They are looking at you on how to become an adult, yeah? So do it for them, and also just do it for yourself. I mean, the peace that I have with my ex is just, it feels so good. That I don't, when we do swap overs, there's no worrying about, I don't like this woman, yeah. It's like I look forward to seeing her when we have our milestones and stuff like that. We can be together, we can chat together. And it's so, I just think it's really sad that you have such a special time in life with someone and you love them to death and you create all these memories and then the relationship breaks down and you hate each other and you can't even speak. I think that's so, so sad. What I'd like to see more of in this world is, I totally get relationships breaking and ending because, a long-term relationship is really, really hard to sustain because you meet someone and you're kind of here in life. And unless you both grow at the same pace and in the same direction, of course you're going to get to a point in life where you're different from each other. Like you don't see the world the same way or whatever it is. And it's a really hard thing to expect that, okay, if you meet here at one stage in life and then 10, 20, 30 years, you're at the exact same level together. That's why so many relationships don't work. So I totally get that relationships don't last and they break down and there's divorces and everything like that. That's all fine. But what I'd like to see more in the world is that, okay, when that happens, the parents do the work to mend the relationship and not just mend it in 10, 20 years, like mend it ASAP for their kids and your own sanity. So go send that message right now. Start healing things right now.